What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am so excited to have my next guest here. I've watched countless of his YouTube videos. For multiple reasons, not just one reason. But I'm just super excited to have this person on. He's been growing rapidly on YouTube, which is amazing because we need more voices like his. And he's got a really unique story that I can't wait to share with you guys. So without further ado, Adam Francisco, thank you so much for being here, man.
Angel, thank you so much for having me. This was awesome that you reached out to me. And I also saw your channel, and I saw that you recently interviewed a TikTok influencer, a conservative influencer. So I think it's cool what you're doing as well. So it's great to be in touch on your show.
Thank you, man. I think one of the big things that I try and stick to on my channel is, of course, my faith and politics, but also culture. I think culture is an important topic when it comes to the political conversation because the left, and you can tell me your thoughts on this, the left has done such a good job of capturing our culture and capturing the minds of the culture and therefore making it easier to push whatever policies that they see fit.
I'll say this. I mean, we just experienced it this week with Twitter and Facebook suppressing a story on New York Post. I mean, New York Post is one of the oldest newspapers, publications in America, and I believe it's the fourth largest in America today. And the fact that they would suppress a news story where we had documents, we had emails, and they would suppress it under, some fake nonsense, rule, whatever they came up with. It just goes to show which wing the mainstream media is on, and it's clearly the left wing. So they're just in control of so much. They have so much power. And as I always like to tell people, I really believe if you were born into this world, and let's say your parents were not left or right, everyone's default setting would be left wing. And that's simply because media, mainstream media, is left wing. And so even me, I was guilty of that. I grew up as a Democrat, as a liberal, and it took a lot of research and I guess reflection and analysis of what was going on for me to have this awakening and become part of the quote unquote walk away movement. So
Absolutely. I'd love to get into a little bit of what got you there, but I do want to elaborate on the Hunter Biden story is what you were talking about being suppressed. I think what's an even bigger story is the fact that nobody's really talking about it being suppressed besides people who are already conservatives or tend to be on the right wing. You don't see the late night hosts and the Don Lemons and all these people really talking about the suppression or the straight up censorship that's going on here. And I would consider myself to be like a 1960s liberal in the sense that like I want free speech for everybody. I want no censorship. I want people to be able to say whatever it is that they want to say creatively and whatever other way. And I think this is just going to show where the left stands now and what their true values are, which is just the power grab.
yeah, exactly. And the fact that we have this level of censorship, it's kind of a really scary precedent for the future. Basically, if big tech and mainstream media see a story that they don't like, they now have the right to censor it and make up rules why they're censoring it. And I don't like that direction. I mean, I still consider myself to be quite progressive and quite liberal on a lot of issues. But as you said, it was much different back in the 1960s where, the reasons you mentioned, those are still good things to want. Free speech is something that everybody should want here. And we're losing access to that slowly. And so we're at this inflection point in society now where we have this election coming up. And if we vote for Biden, we're kind of rewarding that type of censorship. If we vote for Trump, we're fighting back. And so to me, it's so important that we elect Donald Trump this election. And I'm really happy to see. And I watch a lot of channels like Timcast and Tim Pool and Liberal Hive Mind and Ben Shapiro and Brandon Tatum. I wanted to make sure I gave those guys a shout out. But I'm happy to see from what their research is showing them, this race is a lot tighter than the polls, led us to believe. So we literally could be seeing 2016 on repeat.
Yeah, I believe it. I think one of the crazy things is this almost resistance, or what's the right word? They're trying to stay ignorant of the fact that minorities are coming out for Trump in a much larger number than they were in 2016, and that's throwing
Yep.
off the balance a lot for the Democrats because I mean I just saw right before we got on this Charlemagne the God was talking to Don Lemon and pretty much giving an explanation as to why there are so many young black men who are now starting to side with Trump here in 2020, and it's because Trump messages to them, Trump speaks to them, Trump doesn't
Yep.
take their vote for granted. And he makes the point that the Democrats always have, and it's always just been assumed that they're going to turn out for the left. So I find that fascinating, and I do think that this is a crazy moment in time, in particular for
Yep.
people who, maybe are first generation Americans like myself, getting to formulate our own ideas and have our own voice in the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, even Ice Cube, the example with Ice Cube, he wanted to work with the government to kind of address the needs of the black community. So he reached out to both the Trump administration as well as the Biden administration. Now, the Biden administration told him, let's wait till after the election. The Trump administration said, let's talk now, let's discuss now. And the MSM swung it as if Ice Cube was some kind of Trump loyalist, when that wasn't the case. Trump administration was just the team that said, come to the table and let's hear your thoughts. And so that's an example of how they
Skew the truth.
That's
And
fascinating to me because Ice Cube himself, like you said, he's not a Trump guy at all, but he's smart in the sense that he just wants to talk to whoever's in power, like who has the option to do this right now. And right now, it's Donald Trump. He's literally the president of the United States. So why wouldn't he take that opportunity if it's going to instill change? It's almost like people want to deny that Trump can do anything to their own detriment. Right. It's like,
right.
even if it hurts me, I'm not going to go to that guy. It's very petty behavior, very, very juvenile.
100%. And excuse me, when you look at Trump's policies, ignore what he says because this guy's not a politician and he doesn't speak like one. And that's kind of why I like him. It's endearing, in my opinion. I'm a New Yorker. So when Trump speaks, I align with that because New Yorkers are abrasive, we're blunt, and we're direct. And Trump is very guilty of those things. But I had a chance to review the Platinum Plan that he created for Black Americans. And there are so many amazing details in there that aren't discussed by the MSM. Once again, one of the features of his Platinum Plan that I loved was he wants to invest $500 billion into the Black community through businesses. That's massive. This is how you can create generational wealth for families, is by investing in their businesses so that they can become independent and financially independent and grow and become rich. So there's just so many things that I think Trump's doing through policies and actions that the MSM doesn't want to show. All they want to show us is his sound bites taken out of context that paints him as something he's not. So that's just frustrating, that I have.
I think what was something similar to that was when he did the Hispanic Prosperity Initiative, and then the whole mainstream media spun it as like a Goya thing instead of talking
Yep.
about the actual initiative, which I thought was a brilliant plan to invest in certain areas in the inner city where they can put more trade schools, which will make it more likely for people to not have to go to some community college or something and just go to a trade school and go right into the workforce, which to me is so
Exactly.
smart.
Exactly.
Like, that's how you lift people out of poverty and into the middle class. I worked for
Exactly.
a company for 3 years that was a blue collar company that did commercial kitchen repair. These kids are coming right out of high school making 40 grand a year, and then it's only going up from there. Their top technicians are making six figures. They have houses, they have cars, they have families, and this is blue collar work. Obviously it's a lot grittier and it's not as glamorous, but the option is still there. We have the ability to. There's so many of these jobs. Mike Rowe talks about it all the time. There's a skilled trades gap in America where there's not enough people to fill those kinds of jobs. And what Trump did there is so smart to me because I'm seeing both worlds. Like me as a Latino, and also me as somebody who's coming from a middle class family, seeing those opportunities kind of be highlighted and say, look, this is a way out.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your I'm just curious. What's your ethnic?
Background.
Oh, I'm Peruvian.
Oh, very
Oh,
cool.
very
I'm
cool. I'm
Mexican.
Mexican.
Okay, awesome. So I want to talk a little bit about you, actually. Tell me about like kind of your political history, if you will. Like, what kind of got you started thinking about this? I know you said you grew up kind of left leaning, just kind of that was your disposition. What was it that started to change things and red pilled you, quote unquote?
Yeah, I grew up in New York City, Queens. Now, a little background: I was born in Mexico, so I'm full Mexican. However, I was adopted at birth by a Jewish mom and a Christian father from New York City. So when I speak as a Mexican, because I know people see me as a Latino, as a Mexican, which I am, but given my background, given my upbringing, I don't feel that I'm in a position to speak for the Latin community because I was adopted at birth. So my upbringing is very unique, and it puts me in a very unique position, and I'm well aware of that. So
Well,
I was one
that's
of
just
the-
an example
audience.
of why intersectionality is kind of a dumb idea in the first place, right? It's like you can't speak for the Mexican community, just like I can't speak for the Peruvian community, just because we're individuals. It's not really like because of our identities and where we grew up, and it's just we all have different experiences in life, and we have to treat each other that way.
Absolutely. We're all independent thinkers. So that's a little bit of background about me. Now, my family, we grew up as Democrats. My dad was a union worker. And actually, as a matter of fact, I interviewed my dad on my channel. So I'll send you the link. But my dad was a Democrat growing up. And so as a result, they kind of put that on the kids. You know, they said to my brother and I that we should also vote Democrat because that's the party of the people.
A New York Union guy, of course.
Exactly, you know. But my dad, he had his walkaway movement probably in 2016, 2017 when Trump was coming into the office. And for my dad, it became that the left was going so far with abortion. You know, and as I started to research into abortion, I grew up, excuse me, thinking that abortion was rare. That's the word that I thought abortion was rare. I didn't realize that the left was making it a plan B to the plan B pill. You know what I'm saying? So when I looked at the abortion rates in America, I was completely shocked about how often babies are aborted. And I realized, first of all, this isn't rare. This is actually a really common thing. Now, again, I'm in no position to tell a woman what to do with her body. So I grew up pro choice. However, I don't think that we should be allowed to abort babies as late as we do and at the volume that we do because I consider life to be precious and I consider life to be unique. So I understand pro choice and I understand that we have to keep some of that intact, but I lean pro life. And a big reason for my awareness of this is because I was adopted myself. Now, my biological mother, I know her name was Josefina. She had the option to either carry me to term and put me up for abortion or abort me. And she decided to put me up for adoption. So for me, as an adopted person, I love life. I love being alive. I'm so thankful that she made that choice to carry me to term. And this is the opportunity I feel that any baby or any cells, whatever you want to call it, potentially has. And one thing I always joke around about is I got my dogs. One of them I got from a family friend, and the other one I got from a pet store. Now I get a lot of pushback from people that want to judge me for that because I didn't adopt or rescue dogs. But my whole argument is like, all right, if we have this big movement about adopting dogs, where is this movement for adopting human babies? Like, why is that not a thing? Why do we have to virtue signal on dogs, but not human babies? So until there's this adopt, don't shop movement for, I guess, human babies, I know that doesn't really work out that well, but until there's that kind of similar movement, right? Adopt a human baby. Um, I don't want anyone to judge me for having purchased dogs at a pet store, but also I just have a hard time grasping how many abortions happen in America. So for me, that was a small part of my awakening and my red pill moment was just really taking a step back and looking at my own existence.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
and
amazing. I think for me it was similar along the lines of abortion, but more so the idea that bringing in the economics behind it. You know, now people want to have others in America fund their abortions, right? Like this should be a God given right, is what the left claims about abortion. So to me, it was just like, wait, you want government to be in charge of all of this, like including women's bodies and stuff. The same people that are advocating don't take control over my body want the government to step in to force other people to pay for procedures on their body. So to me, that was very enlightening. That was an enlightening moment, but it also kind of interacted with my faith, where it's like, well, you know, we were formed in our womb and God had a plan for us before we were ever even formed in our mother's womb. So it just kind of went hand in hand. Like there's no way that I can really necessarily be pro-choice, even though I was up until like, you know, maybe a few years ago when I started listening to the Ben Shapiro's and Jordan Peterson's and all these people. But that's fascinating. So what made you want to start speaking out about it? Because it's one thing to start believing, right? And then another thing to make a whole YouTube channel about it.
yeah, so let's see. I was living in Thailand last year, and I was away from this whole echo chamber of America, you know, and I also was very politically uninvolved. I didn't care about this whole. I didn't vote 2016. I didn't vote 2012. The last time I voted was actually 2008, and I did vote for Obama for his first term. So I just had this realization in Thailand where I was looking at Facebook and I was looking at the news, mainstream media, and it was very hard for me to find anyone talking positively about President Trump. So I just thought to myself, I said, how is it possible that 99% of what I'm seeing is negative coverage? It doesn't make any sense to me. If it was 60-40 or even 70-30, I could be like, all right, that makes sense. Maybe this guy isn't that good. But when it was 99-1, I was kind of like, all right, time out, hold on. We need to investigate this guy Trump. I need to watch the full Charlottesville video to see if he really did call both people on both sides very fine people. I need to actually do research on this. I needed to research his policies. I needed to research his acts. So I actually took it upon myself to do that. And one of my red pill moments was when I watched the Charlottesville speech. And he did say that there are very fine people on both sides. But 30 seconds later, he condemns neo-Nazis, white nationals. But the mainstream media cuts that part out and removes it. Now, a lot of us in our lives will say something, realize it came out wrong, and then clarify. And that clarification has to be taken in the same context as our initial statement because it's a joint thought, right? But they didn't give Trump that courtesy. They took his half thought, removed his clarification, and to this day, this is the same line that politicians and the Democrats point to Trump, that he called Nazis very fine people. He never did. He never did that. He clarified, he made it very clear. And so I just realized at this moment that a lot of the MSM is slanted. And I realized Trump wasn't as bad as people were saying. Now, as far as why I had the courage or the drive to come out and talk about it is because I realized I was in a unique position. I'm financially independent. I did very well for myself in my 20s. And so I haven't had to have a job, a full-time job in 4 years. I've had some gigs, here and there, but I've been basically self-employed for 4 years now. And so I'm essentially, the way I like to say it, not only people can't really trigger me because I'm very even keel, but I couldn't be fired from a job. So I really didn't have much risk in terms of losing a career, being talked to by a boss. So I just said, you know what, because I have this unique position and luckily I did very well in my 20s. I'm 37 now, so, I'm an old man. But awesome. But man, I realized I could just come out and speak openly and freely. And I've done that. And I knew that there was going to be some social scorn. I kind of calculated that I'd lose Facebook friends. I kind of calculated that I'd take some heat. But I've gone through that. And what I've learned through this process was being a shy Trump supporter or having people think you're a Trump supporter is way worse than when you're just wearing Trump hats, going out, holding flags, going to rallies. It actually is better, in my opinion, to go all in on your Trump support, because then at least it shows that you're confident in your decision, you're proud of your decision, and people can't really threaten you when you're like, yo, this is who I am. And a lot of times I think it inspires people, but it also makes the left bitter and jealous that you are actually this happy-go-lucky Trump supporter. And also, because I am a person of color, right? That's what we call ourselves nowadays. Because I'm a person of color, I break the mold of what a Trump supporter looks like. And that in itself is a little bit threatening to the left's narrative that Trump supporters looked and act a certain way.
Absolutely. It's so funny that you mentioned that because for a long time I was kind of creeping around the idea of like, well, yeah, I'm for Trump, but like I'm not a Trump supporter. Like, and to me, it did feel really dishonest and it didn't sit well with myself. But when
Exactly.
I did, I lost my job during COVID. So when I did, I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna take my ability to do video. I'm just gonna dump it all into my YouTube channel, and I'm just gonna try and just be as honest as possible. And the amount of positive feedback that I got from actually saying something from people that weren't was just overwhelming. People were saying like, "Thank you for talking about this. Thank you for actually speaking the truth. You're one of the only people." Or I had officers, and I'm sure you've had this too, DMing me and just saying, "Hey, look, I can't really post anything about this on my social, but thank you for actually posting real statistics and accounting for how we feel as officers." So it was definitely a surprise to me because I thought I was gonna get nothing but flack. I thought everybody was
Yep.
gonna drop me, and I'll be
Yep.
honest, like I'm in the creative space, so a lot of the people that I had networked with creatively just don't talk to me anymore. They don't associate with me. But along with that came a whole new group of people that were not, if not accepting, but they embrace the idea.
Yep. And I'll tell you this, my cousin, her name is Nicole, so shout out to Nicole. She invited me to a Trump rally in Charlotte back in March. March 5th, I think the rally was. And I remember we were going to the rally, and I owned no Trump gear. I owned no hats, no shirts, no flags. So we went to Target, TJ Maxx, Marshalls to try to find some Trump stuff. Couldn't find anything. We didn't know that they had stands set up outside the rally. We didn't know that that was going to be there. But I couldn't find anything. But I did find a Pepsi shirt. And I said, you know what? It was red, white, and blue. I'll wear that to the Trump rally. And I found a Budweiser hat, red, white, and blue, because I wasn't comfortable wearing Trump stuff. I thought that that was just too extreme. So I show up to the Trump rally in my Budweiser and my Pepsi shirt. And to me, this was my undercover subtle way of saying I'm a Trump supporter without having to wear Trump. And I noticed that a lot of people do that. They'll wear American flag shirts, they'll wear American flag hats because they don't have the courage or they're scared to be a Trump supporter. So that's how they kind of, get around it. And when I got to this rally, not only did I see more people of color than I expected, which already was like, wow, that's interesting, but everybody was so kind, happy, and friendly. I didn't see any racism. I didn't experience any racism. And it changed it really made me have this coming out moment of, I think I'm in good company being a Trump supporter. So I went to another rally, and by the next rally, I had the flags, the hat, the shirt, and now I'm doing podcasts with gentlemen like you, and I'm proudly wearing my Trump hat.
Love it. Mine is sitting right back there. You got the Keep America Great hat that I got in DC there.
And I pair it with my Jordan jersey because the GOAT meets the GOAT.
That's amazing. Hey, you know what Michael Jordan says? Republicans buy Jordans too. So
yeah, exactly. That's it. It's all money's all the same.
Hey, exactly. So tell me about your YouTube channel. So I'll agree. I'll admit I find it fascinating because I saw you post on your Instagram story. You merge different interests. Hot girls, politics, and I forget you named one other thing. But
food and geography.
And geography, yes. So you're by the beach, and everything's very aesthetically pleasing. As somebody that's interviewing random people, that's something I've always struggled with. So this is kind of a selfish question for me. What is your what's your mentality going into it? Are you trying to provoke a little bit? Are you trying to connect first? How do you approach that?
So I've watched a lot of channels, and I watch people like Caitlin Bennett, Liberty Hangout, and I have huge respect for that girl. Huge respect for that girl. But she provokes. But she also has her facts. So she can actually provoke and back it up. So I've watched her channel, and she's obviously a huge channel. And I see that, I know that I could go in that direction where I could provoke and engage in debate. But that's not my personality. And I don't want to go down that route, right? Because whenever you create a YouTube channel, it does become a bit of your identity. And, you can go down a rabbit hole with that where that's all you want to do. So to me, I'm really anti-conflict in a lot of ways. So, provoking people, debating them, triggering them on the street, not really my thing. So I've decided, because that's usually how a lot of these, channels go, and that's great for them. And I love watching it, like Flecka's Talks. He's also a great channel.
He's a little more subdued. He's a
little more subdued. Yeah. He's not as extreme as Caitlin is, but, I just thought to myself, I might be able to do it differently in terms of approaching people with kindness. So I try to just approach people. Hey, I approach them. Can I ask a few questions for my YouTube channel? It's a political channel. So I always ask people before I shoot. I don't do the whole gotcha moment. I want to get the consent before I film them. And then I just ask them, who they're voting for. And I get a lot of people, more Trump supporters, because I usually go on my Trump hat. But I get some Biden supporters. And I have a video going up today, episode 40, where I actually saw a guy wearing a Biden shirt and a Biden hat. And, I'm very polite to these people, and I'm not there to engage in a debate. I'm not there to try to convince them otherwise, because we know that that's an uphill battle. Instead, I'm just here to let them have a platform to speak and hear them out and be kind. And you'll see in my episode 40 that's going live later today, I met this wonderful black girl, and she actually says to me, not only do I not look like the typical Trump supporter, but I don't behave like them either. And she said that I did a good job of shifting her perception of Trump supporters, and she feels better about us after meeting me. And she's a Biden supporter, by the way. So when you have these moments with people and you have these connections, it's really powerful stuff. And so I'm trying to show people that you could disagree, but it doesn't have to, devolve into some kind of rap battle, right? It could still be very kind. And a lot of people tell me in my comments that they like that approach and they don't want me to change that. So I'm not going to change that, and I'm not going to become a debate channel. Could I debate people? Absolutely. I have the knowledge up here and I have the facts, and I know I could debate people on the street, but I don't want to go in that direction. And I've decided if I do want to have debates, I'll do it in this kind of format where it's more of a one-on-one, because then at least we're both going into the mindset of we're both going to learn from each other and both going to push back a little bit. But on the street, I don't think that's the right format.
Yeah, I respect that a lot about your channel, and that's one of the reasons that I kept watching is because the interactions were fascinating. I mean, you're going up to people who are presumably Biden supporters, or at the very least just passive Democrats, and you're wearing your Trump hat and you're wearing all this stuff, and you're just talking to them like a normal person. Which I'm assuming any interaction that they've had with a Trump supporter has been kind of vitriolic or kind of confrontative. So I really love that, and I think we need more of that in the channel. I do think that there is a space. I think the reason that Caitlin Bennett does what she does is because she's going to colleges, and this is a kind of a hub for where you're supposed to go to critically think. So as opposed to you, where you're maybe where people are vacationing, the last thing you want to do is run up on them as like Trump 2020
Exactly.
and just start, like spitting facts at them. But
Exactly.
I kind of agree with you. Like the reason that I do interviews like this, and I'm not trying to get leftists or liberals on here, is one, because they don't want to, but two, because I'd rather unpack a long-term conversation with somebody and get to know them and get to know their ideas than I would have like some, tit for tat debate where we're all trying to one up each other. The only time that really ever happens, and I'm sure you've had this on Instagram, is people will start trying to argue with you in the comments, in which case I'll say like, I'd love to like take a phone call with you about this or talk about it with you on Instagram Live, and then they shut up.
That's exactly it. And I talked about it in my Instagram stories recently. I had a friend. He's got a YouTube channel, Instagram channel called Spur Play. So shout out to him, Spur Play. And he was surprised to see that I was a Trump supporter. So what did he do? He to me, he said, "Can I call you so I can learn more about why you're choosing to support Trump?" So for me, that was a powerful moment. We ended up having a 1 hour conversation. We spoke about all sorts of topics. And at the end of the call, he was so thankful that I gave him, an hour of my time, and and he gave me an hour of his time. And that's, I think, how conversations need to go. They need to go with actual phone calls, not, as I said, rap battles in the comment section of Instagram and Facebook, because that's not real. It's so easy. It's so easy to be a keyboard warrior behind your screen,
Right.
insulting. And these are things most people would never say to someone's face. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I wish we had more of that. More connections, more conversations, more phone calls. More phone calls.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I do think that one of the things that I've learned best from somebody like Ben Shapiro is when to debate and when to kind of leave it alone, right? He kind of leaves it to the idea of like, if it's somebody that's within your close circle that you're going to be seeing a lot of, and you care about what they think, then it's going to be worth the conversation for you to explain your viewpoints. Whereas if it's somebody passive in the comments or something, it's just like, look, we can talk about this, or I'm not going to sit here and go back and forth in comments. Or if you're on a public debate stage, right, in which case you go full Ben Shapiro on them, and you do whatever you need to do. So I love that, man. Where do you see this going as far as like a career? Do you see this kind of becoming something you want to do full time, or is this more of something you're doing for fun?
So I never started, but let's back up to why I started my YouTube channel. I started my YouTube channel technically I started it 2 years ago when I opened my account, but I didn't upload a video until really December of 2019. And at the time, I was living in Thailand, and I wanted to be a travel food blogger because that's always very brand safe.
Yes.
But I was filming everything with my iPhone as well as this Android device that I had. And at the end of the day, what I've learned since then is if you're going to start a YouTube channel, you can't do that with an iPhone or an Android. The quality, I mean, as good as they are, for it to be taken seriously in YouTube, you need to invest in a good camera and good equipment. So whatever, my channel wasn't taking off. I also had this idea of just posting as much random content as possible to try to pop up with different search terms. And to a degree, it was working. Like people would find me through like fixing a flat tire on a Honda Civic. Like I have a video for that. And people would find me that way, but it really wouldn't get follows or views because there was no theme on my channel. It was all over the place. Now, that kind of channel doesn't work until you're actually a celebrity. Once you're a
Right.
celebrity, then you could post about whatever the hell you want. You know, you could do an hour video of you drinking a coffee and people are going to watch that. But until you're well known or famous, that doesn't work. So
So
I've been just hanging on to this like, what's my theme? What's my passion? Well, dogs, food, travel are my passions. But I wasn't tight enough and there wasn't anything unique about what I was doing. So I have a friend named Tara. Shout out to her, Polish American Brotherhood. That's her channel. And she had this idea of going out in Orlando with Trump hats on, both Trump supporters, and just seeing what happens. Now, this was 2 months ago. I was terrified. I said to her, I don't want to go in public in Trump hats. I don't want to get my ass kicked. But she said, come on, it'll be fun. I said, all right, as long as it's me and you, you're a Filipina, I'm a Mexican. I don't think we'll get attacked. I think that will be more of a curiosity than anything.
right.
So we went out and we did that. I put the video on my YouTube and my views were higher than usual. I got more likes than usual. I got more comments than usual. So I said, huh. So as the advertiser in me, because I spent my career in advertising, I studied the analytics. I said, this is interesting. Maybe I should do this again. So I went to Fort Lauderdale and I did the same video. And once again, the views, the likes, the comments. I said, huh, I think I'm onto something here. So I did more and more and more, and it kept snowballing and snowballing until here we are today. I'm now at the point where I'm growing organically 300 followers a day, which
Wow.
is such a good feeling to go to sleep, wake up, 300 subs. The only negative part is I can't keep up with the comments, which is a good problem to have. And I'm
Yes.
getting a lot of comments. My like to dislike ratio is about 97%, which
Wow.
as you said earlier, we thought we were going to get a lot of haters. Instead, we got a lot of supporters that are on our team, I guess. Um, my Google AdSense is now generating a livable income per day, which again was never the goal, but it
Right.
definitely is icing on the cake. And I've already been featured on Donald Trump's YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, which is
Wow.
crazy.
Was that what gave you a little spike there?
Actually, they didn't even include my socials, so I got no spike.
Oh
However,
wow.
a lot of my subscribers also subscribe to Donald Trump's.
Right.
So
Right.
it gave me a lot of brand equity with those people who saw it because it really made me look like a voice, an authentic voice.
Yes.
The Trump campaign emailed me actually a couple days ago and made me sign a release form. And they said that they might be using more of my clips. So I'm thinking
Cool.
that if they do that, they might include my socials this time around.
Right.
And if that happens, who knows what the bump could be? I mean, we could get a serious bump from that type of exposure.
Yeah.
But again, I really do think in my heart Trump is the president we need. I don't want to see America going far left. I think moderate left is okay, but I think we're past that point now.
I agree.
Where I think conservative is better than far left. Let's put it
Yes.
that way. Moderate to me is the ideal situation because I'm not a conservative, I'm not a liberal, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat. I actually registered as an independent.
Oh
Um,
wow.
yeah, but I'm just a Trump supporter. Like, and I think that in some ways that's more powerful because I'm not voting by party and I'm not
Right.
voting by ideology. I'm voting based on policies, I'm voting based on personality, and I'm voting based on strength. And I
Yes.
find that Donald Trump has those three. Now, a lot of people tell me they don't like his character, and I totally understand that. He's abrasive.
I think a lot of people that say that don't really understand, like we were talking about, the New York kind of bombastic personality of like a rich guy from New York City. Of course he's
Right.
gonna be kind of like out there. I mean, he's never really heard no in his life, you know, so obviously he's gonna be the kind of person that gets things done. He's this real estate mogul, he's been on reality television. Of course he's
Yep.
going to have that larger than life character, but I don't think that
Yep.
it's a detriment to him. I think it's hurt him a lot with optics, but not necessarily with the
Yes.
job of the presidency.
The best example is how he handled the question at the first debate when Chris Wallace said, will you condemn white supremacy?
Right.
Now, if you rewatch the clip, first of all, that was a layup.
Yeah.
He literally should have said the words, I condemn white supremacy. He should have said those words. He should have found a way to sneak that sentence in. So it was a botched answer on his point. However, if you really break it down, Chris Wallace said to him, will you condemn white supremacy? Trump said, sure.
Sure.
And then
Multiple.
Chris Wallace altered the question and started talking about the Kenosha shootings, to which case Trump got distracted and said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, hold on. That is actually from the left, not the right. That's the left violence."
Right.
And then he said, "All right, look, there was so much going on because Trump was debating both the moderator and Biden, and Trump's like, look, who do you want me to condemn? Just give me a name." And Biden said, "Proud Boys."
Which is
Who, by the way,
completely on the other side of the spectrum.
not even white supremacists, by the way. I tried to look up research about them being white supremacists. Couldn't find any research. Couldn't find any proof, any articles, any videos that they're white supremacists. It's a made-up narrative by the mainstream media. Anyway, he said, "Who should I condemn? Proud Boys." And he said, "Stand back and stand by." I think he was flustered in the moment. I think he meant stand back and stand down.
And down, yeah.
That's what I think, because even the way he delivered the line just came out all awkwardly. But that's just another example of gotcha moment, and I don't think that's fair the way that they treat Donald Trump. I think he's gotten a really unfair 3.5 years in office.
I agree. It even happened with the town hall, where if you were to flip between channels, Joe Biden was getting interviewed, and it was just like Ben Shapiro says, he was getting a back rub from the interviewer.
Exactly.
And meanwhile, you flip the channel, and Donald Trump is just getting roasted and just grilled by this lady.
Every 12 seconds, she interrupted him, apparently.
Yeah. There was somebody did an actual count of everything. Yeah.
Yep.
So man, thank you so much for being on this channel. I want to wrap this up a little bit with like a nice bow and let you kind of, shout out your stuff. Obviously you're a bigger channel than me, but hey, maybe somebody out there still hasn't subscribed to you, because people tend to watch and then not subscribe. So
Bro, I literally, I was at your subscriber count less than a month ago.
Wow.
So keep that in mind, and that's one thing I never want to forget. I actually went out yesterday to meet I met these two guys at the gym at Planet Fitness. They walked in with MAGA hats on, the red MAGA hats. So of course that caught my eye. And I walked up to them and I said, "Guys, I like your hats." And they said that they were YouTubers. And they're two brothers. Their channel's The Young Conservative Brothers. And
Nice.
big Trump supporters. They had at the time about 600 subs. But I still said to them, "Guys, why don't we do a YouTube collaboration?" So I actually interviewed them yesterday. They're going to be on my channel.
Nice.
So hopefully they get a bump for me, because I never want to forget where I came from. And I don't look at people based on subscriber count, because remember, I was literally just there struggling for 1,000 subs a month and a half ago. So that's why I don't even care what people's subscriber count is when they reach out to me. As long as they seem to be good people, I will dedicate the time to anybody who wants to sit down and have a chat. Because one day you could be the next Ben Shapiro. You know what I'm saying? And already, look at your channel. You got great aesthetics. You got a great camera. You got great audio. You got great lighting. You're a well-spoken kid. So I feel like your channel is also on doing some big things too.
thank you, man. I appreciate that. And maybe I can have the Conservative Brothers on my channel as well if they're watching. Shouts out to you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so shout out your channel, Instagram. I really like your Instagram is so entertaining. So just give us a little plug, if you will.
Yeah, so let's do a plug for myself. Hi, guys. Adam Francisco, and my YouTube is Adam Francisco. My Instagram is Adam Francisco. My Facebook is The Adam Francisco. My TikTok is The Adam Francisco. And let's see what else we got. My website is BeFreeMySheeple.com, which, by the way, my website has nothing to do with politics. It's just more about having a free lifestyle, being financially independent, being surrounded by dogs, and making sure that you travel as much as possible and just being as healthy as possible. So my website's dedicated to more of a freedom mindset, but the rest of my platforms are really politics meets dogs. And I should introduce my ladies. Hold on. I gotta introduce my girls. This is Cloud. So say hi to Cloud, everybody. She's a good,
Hey, Cloud,
she's a good
what's up?
girl. And let me get Raindrop. Raindrop, come here. Who's this? Who is this? Come say hi.
Now Raindrop has their own Instagram, don't they?
They do. Raindrop. They have Raindrop Francisco and Cloud Francisco, and we are the family, and we go everywhere together.
That's
and Raindrop
amazing.
is actually a service dog, so
Oh, wow.
she goes with me literally everywhere: the gym, the restaurants, the bars. She's my wing girl.
Awesome. That's amazing. So follow Raindrop and Cloud Francisco on Instagram. And man, thanks again so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot as well.
Awesome.
Awesome. Stick
Thanks,
around.
man.
I'm gonna stick around. I'm gonna stop recording.
Cool.